everybody, and welcome. This is Michelle Marchant Johnson, and I am super excited to have you here with me. And I'm going to introduce our all-star panel. Okay, so first of all, Carrie Valentine. For over a decade, Carrie has been assisting thousands of couples and singles throughout the world to transform their lives out of the emotional pain of relationship and dating challenges to create joyous, juicy, sustaining relationships of their dreams. And he is the best-selling author of In Love Forever, 7 Secrets to a Joyous, Juicy Relationship, which he co-wrote and lived out with his late wife, Wendy. Carrie lives in the enchanting Hawaiian islands of Kauai and Maui and recently got engaged. You're going to love his passion for life. So welcome, Carrie, first of all. Woo!
Aloha, Michelle. It is wonderful to be here with my fellow band members, in the sense, Ken and Dave, and just extremely excited to work together here to collaborate to offer such wise, heartfelt wisdom to the folks listening today.
Thank you so much, Carrie. We're so thrilled to have you back. Dave Elliott, when it comes to relationship transformation, Dave Elliott is a noted expert, author, international speaker, and an accomplished coach who gets results for his clients all over the world. He's especially gifted at teaching smart, amazing women how to bring out the very best in a man rather than suffering through their worst. Whether he's sharing his expertise in books or products or on some of today's most widely read relationship websites or on TV, radio, or stage, you'll come away with new awareness, skills, and strategies to get the breakthrough results you really want and need. Welcome, Dave. So happy to have you back.
I am delighted to be back. Thank you so much. I'm glad to be back with my brothers. This is the 4th time we've done it, and it's amazing. So I love the way everybody brings a little something extra to it. So really glad to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, it's kind of a sweet combination we've got here. And last but not least is the wonderful Ken Bechtel. For over 20 years, Ken Bechtel has shared his insights and amusement as a partnership mentor, speaker, and educator to help women get their needs met and be loved for all their unique beauty. As the creator of the Finding Success in Love program, he brings you the real story from a man's perspective of what it takes to be adored by a great guy. He's also the creator and host of the wildly popular Speaking of Partnership podcast that is heard in over 100 countries around the world. Welcome, Ken. So happy to have you back as well.
Thanks, Michelle. Great to be here. Great to be with the guys. And really excited and ready to answer some questions.
All right. Well, let's do it. We're going to just do these questions where I'm going to kind of rotate through these men, and they'll each take a question, and we'll try to get through just as many as we possibly can. How about we start with you, Carrie?
Let's roll, baby.
All right. This is from Cass. Since men don't like to talk too much, how are we supposed to get to know about them?
Great question. Well, no problem. Great way to do that is ask questions about them. That will bring out men to talk. And that's not necessarily true about everybody and things, but definitely a way to, as I said, to bring out the qualities of a man and to get to know him is ask questions about his life. Simple way.
Mm-hmm. Ask questions about his life. And what if he gives you like yes, no answers? Because there are some men who are not really, even if you're asking questions, you don't get a lot from them.
Sure, that's fine. And this is the joy of dating and getting to know people. It's like an interview, and you're getting to get an essence of what kind of person this is, and don't judge them necessarily on if they're just constantly giving 1 or 2 word answers. However, that's also letting you know what kind of conversationalists they are, and is this a match for the kind of depth of what you're looking for? And you could actually be direct and talk to him directly about that and say, like, hey, if you want to hear more, ask him to think about it and come out with more. And even though it may or may not feel comfortable at that point, there's probably a lot inside. If you have patience and you're willing to dig in and don't just, as I said, judge the book by its cover, by the initial kind of few words, keep going and see what happens.
Yeah, and maybe asking those open-ended questions, and maybe asking a little follow-up questions, or asking questions about things that are fun or interesting, so they don't actually feel like it's a job interview, right?
Yeah, definitely. Like, ask, that's a great point, Michelle, like open-ended, like asking them things that they like, things that they're interested in. Why do they want to travel? Why, what are they desiring in a relationship?
Yeah.
Things, all different things.
Yeah, and I also think, especially like on a first date, a man might be nervous, and sometimes they talk all about themselves, and other times they clam up. So that's another thing to keep in mind, right? Maybe it takes more than one date to get to know them.
Just be candid too. Be daring to be real, and to say, like, you may feel a little nervous, or if you're feeling comfortable but you're sensing he's feeling a little nervous, you can say like, I'm feeling a little nervous here. I'm wondering if you are too, and that's okay, and let's just play with that. Break the ice. You know what I'm saying? Right.
All right. Thank you, Carrie. All right. Sure. So, Ken, you're up, my friend.
Okay.
Okay. This is from Jennifer. She says, this was one submitted in advance. I hear a lot about how men need to feel they are efforting in order to earn our affection and love. Otherwise, that male instinct to win isn't triggered if obtaining us feels too easy. However, I'm speaking to real men who are also dating, as well as some more nuanced dating coaches. And they're saying that many men are getting fed up with all the hoops we make them jump through in order to be with us. And in fact, this might even be part of the increased ghosting phenomenon by men, when they don't feel like putting in all the effort that it will take to make us happy. They'd rather just disappear than step up because they are understandably busy and don't have time for what they perceive as a high-maintenance woman. It's a good question. I like it.
So there's a couple of things in here that are really important. And you said it was Jennifer?
Jennifer.
Okay, great. So Jennifer, I love what you asked. I also want to draw everybody's attention to, you didn't ask anything. You made a bunch of statements assuming there was a question in there. And this happens all the time. Women will make a statement about something, and to you that's a question, and the man doesn't respond. You're like, well, what do you think? And he's like, well, you didn't ask me anything. So one of the things that'll help is ask questions that are actually questions. And it's the way women communicate. It's very common, because you guys would talk back and forth, and instantly, I'm sure every woman knew, oh, I see where the questions are in there. Guys don't necessarily pick that up. So that's just a little side tip. If you're asking a question of a man, actually ask a question.
Well, that's great. I didn't pick up on that, Ken.
What's that?
Thank you for bringing that up. I didn't pick up on that. That's awesome that you noted that. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I'm a guy.
I know. That's why you're here.
That's not my only qualification. But it is one of them. So to answer to the question about, the jumping through hoops or whatever, the biggest thing is, if you're making him jump through any hoops, you're playing games. And that's not authentic. So the whole idea of, do I need to give them stuff to effort on and whatever, that's all manipulation. It's all games. Authenticity is what's going to draw somebody in. Now, the key is, like your question about, he doesn't want to put the effort in. It's not because of jumping through hoops. It's if you're not showing him that he's actually making you happy. He's doing something that works for you. He's going to assume he's failing, right? So unfortunately, all this information gets spread out there on these very surface levels, saying, oh yeah, you need to lean back and let him lead and let him do all these things. But then you take it to this place where you're like, I'm not going to give him any signs that this is working, because then he'll think it's winning. And I've had women tell me that countless times. Oh, I don't want him to know. I'm not going to tell him that I really like him, because then they won't try anymore. No. That's why we try. We're like, oh, cool. It's working. I'm contributing to her happiness, to the betterment of her life. That's what we're hardwired to do. So my invitation to you, Jennifer, is take all this, quite honestly, BS you've been eating up and throw it aside and be yourself and be authentic. And if you enjoy something that's going on, let him know. And if you don't, be curious. Be like, hey, I'm just curious why you did that, because that was kind of uncomfortable for me. Guess what? You'll get lots of conversation when you do that. And if the guy's like, well, it doesn't matter, that's all the information you need, right? It's like, this guy isn't really interested in being your partner. So that's my suggestion is throw away all these different opposing views about how to play a certain game. Those are surface techniques to try and play games to get a date. If your goal is just to date, keep doing that. If your goal is to have a partnership that lasts the rest of your life where you feel connected and loved, drop all that, be yourself, let him know when you're being pleased and you're happy about things, and when you're not, let him know how he can do that. That's my tip.
Mm-hmm. So if I'm hearing part of what you're saying here, Ken, just to maybe put a little accent on it, is building in that reward, like letting him know that you're liking what he's doing is a part of what's going to motivate him to want to continue to do that, rather than having like some set of criteria in your mind that he doesn't even really maybe know about, or certain hoops for him to jump through, and you hoping that he just figures that out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's the same thing as what I said earlier about the question. You're wanting him to read between the lines. Men don't read between lines. We're not wired that way. And as opposed to, like you said, giving him the little, I forgot how you said it, but like that little, nugget of the treat or whatever. No, it's about being authentic. If you're happy, be happy. Let him know. You're not losing power. You're actually being authentic. Men want to know you. We don't want to know what training manual you read about how to manipulate him into chasing you. That's not what we're interested in. We're drawn to the real deal.
Yeah, in fact, as I've been interviewing men on the man panel these last 4 years, now I've done over 100 interviews with men. One of the things that men have often said to me is that women don't even recognize how much it means to a man for her just to smile, for her just to appreciate, for her just to acknowledge what he's doing. And we forget sometimes the value and power of that as women.
That's huge. I've asked so many guys this question, like, when you do something for a lady, what are you looking for in return? Because that's what women are thinking. Oh, what's his agenda? What's he want here? Mm-hmm. Across the board, guys say some version of a genuine smile and a sincere thank you. Mm-hmm. But if you're thinking he's got an agenda, you're not even thinking to be honest with him and be like, thanks, that was really nice. Yeah. He will be so excited. Yeah. Watch guys, when you do that, they puff up. They're like, cool, this is why I'm here. I want to contribute. And it doesn't have to be romantically. It could be anybody in your world, just guys at the office.
Yeah, winning, right? He's winning.
Yeah, Charlie wasn't as crazy as we all acted.
Exactly. Yeah. All right, thank you so much, Ken. Absolutely. Dave, my friend, you're up. Ready to go?
Jennifer's question or a different one?
Nope, I'm going to give you a different question.
Okay. Can I just add one thing to what he said? I think that was a great answer, but I thought Jennifer's a great example of a really bright woman who is very much in her head, and she had a strategic resolve. She was looking for, like, she's clearly done a lot of work. But I think the key is to get out of your head and into your heart, because at that place, men can actually kind of interact with you, enter your world, and again, you kind of set them up to be the hero, and it's everything that Ken was just talking about as well. But just kind of not overthinking it and being so strategic with an emphasis on, I don't want to lose, and how do I set this up to win? It seemed like there was way more emphasis on doing everything right. So that's just my thought on it.
Thank you for that. That's a really nice insight to add to Ken's wonderful answer. Okay, so Dave, shifting gears here, I have a new question for you.
Okay.
I'm an African American woman over 50. When I see older single Caucasian guys who are checking me out, but don't say anything, how can I let him know that I'm interested? And she's anonymous. She didn't put her name.
Well, I think it's the universal symbols for interested are smiles and welcoming and open body language versus closed. Closed would be like turning away. Basically, the direction that your belly button is pointing in is the direction that you're kind of open to. So if you're leaning towards him, facing him, smiling, being receptive, or just sort of welcoming in, like the thing is, what a man wants to avoid more than anything is he wants to kind of size up the situation. Mind you, we're risk averse, but we will do all kinds of things to get a result. So what we want to do is we want to avoid that long walk back across that dance floor where we say, hey, would you like to dance? And I'm like, no, thanks. And we look like an idiot and we're walking back, the walk of shame. So he just wants a signal that it's safe and that you're open to talking and you're interested. And a smile is the greatest way to do it, turning toward and just being open and vulnerable. And I think that's pretty simple.
Yeah, the smile and the eye contact, it's hard to discount that because that's kind of, like you said, kind of that universal language, and maybe holding that eye contact a little bit longer than you might normally, like just glance at someone.
Absolutely. That's a definitely welcoming glance, for sure.
Yeah, what I know about being a woman is that back when I was single, if I was around a guy that I might be interested in, my tendency was to not look at him because I was like too nervous to make that eye contact or that smile. But that's kind of that invitation that says, if you come and approach me, you won't be doing the walk of shame going back, right?
Absolutely. That's what they want to know. And for people who are listening to the program, there's going to be, 20 some experts who we're going to basically help you get to a place where you start to really know and show your value. And that's the key of making eye contact and being open, because that's really what it's about at the end of the day, being a high value woman and showing up in that way. So they're in the right place. I'm really glad they're doing this program. There's a lot of great experts and they're going to get a lot of great information. So hang in there, ladies. You're in the exact right place.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dave.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, touch upon something here too, Michelle?
Absolutely.
Super response, Dave. I love it. Another element is the racial differences. And this is something, in a way, I'm learning about too, as my fiance is a Black woman. And so learning about differences between the races, and kind of especially too, what's okay for a Black man and a Black woman being in a relationship with, let's say, a white man or a white woman. So from what I'm hearing from her and friends of hers, and learning that especially for a Black woman to be with a white guy, that can still be very challenging in the culture. It's okay, the reversal, and don't get as much kind of stuff around it. So what I would say to her as well, just check your feelings and also acknowledge any kind of cultural challenges you might be going up against in your own mind, just to even approach a white guy, and to look at that, feel that, and go deeper, is like, again, if whoever you're attracted to, and then break free from if there are any of that kind of cultural challenges there too.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, there could be cultural biases, or there could even be biases that you might have that you might not even be aware are there. And so just kind of being aware of that. So thank you for adding that from your own experience, Carrie. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, because just Black women can snicker at other Black women when they see them with white guys.
Okay.
So that's the piece.
Really? We haven't gotten past that yet in our world.
Oh, not at all. Unfortunately.
Okay,
but
well,
it's time.
We're still evolving as a human race, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
Most definitely.
Okay. So, Carrie, I think you're up for the next question here.
All right.
This is from Karishma. She says, what is the best way to find out if a man has done some self-growth work? Shall I just ask him what personal development work you have done?
Great question, Karishma. I love it. Yeah, you can ask, but also just, you can ask specifically, like, have you done any, introspection, or also just kind of ask questions, finding out about their history as them growing up. What kind of challenges might have they faced as a younger person? And where are they now? Have they, done any introspection? Have they done any kind of shifts and transformation from maybe any challenges that they've gone through? Could have been, and you could ask like this: what's your relationship like with your parents? Was it always that way? Do you ever have any challenges? How about with your siblings? Things like this. What, have you had any fears or doubts? Were you shy as a kid? Were you, completely gregarious? And then you realize, ooh, I needed to be more listening than just so outward. Those, again, like kind of Ken was saying earlier, like ask direct questions. You'll get direct responses. So you can ask directly or kind of in and about to get to know their history.
Yeah, and this is an interesting one too, because a lot of the clients that I've worked with, and I'm sure that several of you have worked with, have done a fair amount of self-development work over the years. And I don't know if for all men that's as much of a thing. I know there are men out there that are involved in it for sure. But I will say some of my clients have invited men that they're dating to kind of participate in these kinds of things. And it's been a real bonding opportunity, an experiential thing for them that has brought them a lot closer. So if a man is open to that, even if he hasn't done a lot of that on a formal basis previously, maybe you don't want to just, write him off. That's all I'm saying. Just adding that.
Yeah, definitely. And I would say too, for guys who haven't done the self-help passage or that kind of thing, that doesn't mean that they haven't looked and explored and done growth in themselves. So watch the lingo, because you might find that you don't necessarily have to use the self-help kind of lingo. Just ask, how have you transformed, or what's happened, what's changed? And I will say that, being involved in some men's groups, that men, as again, traditional guys, they love that opportunity to get together with other guys to finally, they feel like someone's listening to them. So take that, in that sense, Karishma, invoke your desire and intention to ask questions, to really get to know him. And that's going to be an incredible attractant, because whether he's done this kind of work or not, there's probably a part of him who wants to get shared and share his experience and care for that. So it's a great, great question.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Carrie. All right, Ken, you're up. Let's see here. This is, I kind of lost my place, but I want to ask this question. Oh, here it is. This is from Wendy. And she says, how do you screen men who are truly emotionally available and separate them from the men who say or even think they are emotionally available? Before you answer this, Ken, I just want to say, and this is a second part to the question, and maybe all of you have an opinion on this. I kind of think this emotionally unavailable term right now is kind of overused. Like, it's just a thought. So answer the question and we can explore that too.
Okay, great. So Wendy, this is maybe the number one question in America right now, from women about men. Mm-hmm. And obviously the biggest one is watch what he does, not what he says. It's more about who he is, how he shows up, and is he available? Is he open? Is he communicative? Is he nurturing? If he's like, yeah, I've done all this stuff, and you want that, so then you dismiss the fact that he's actually behaving poorly. And this is what we do. We're like, oh, but he's so great and everything else, but he's kind of shit off, but I'll just act like that's not there because I want it to be this way. It's really clear if a man's emotionally unavailable or not. Now, here's the trick. It's very easy to make up that story. Like Michelle said, the two biggest ones right now, in my opinion, are emotionally unavailable and he's a narcissist.
Yep. Ding, ding.
blanket comments to just dismiss any guy as to why you shouldn't be around him. First of all, narcissism is a clinical condition. Unless he's been clinically diagnosed as a narcissist, you don't get to decide that. So he's not a narcissist just because he thinks of himself, just because he tells you what he needs and doesn't ask what you need. That doesn't make him a narcissist. So I wanted to put that out there. Same thing with emotionally unavailable. Mm-hmm. You want to pay attention to how he's showing up. It's so easy to make up the story because otherwise he's really great, but he's kind of doesn't, show any emotion or he won't open up to me. But I really want this to work, so I'm going to act like it's not there. And then I'll act like I'm surprised when 6 months later, I admit to myself that I was right the first time that he was emotionally unavailable. It happens a lot. And it's because of our desire to be in partnership. So my advice is really pay attention to what's showing up. It's interesting because Carrie's comment about, and the question he was answering about self-help, right? Have they done self-development? I would venture to say that 99% of you really don't care if he's done self-development. You want to know what are the qualities you're looking for that represent that to you, and then look for that. He can tell you he's read 27 books. It doesn't mean he lives it. It doesn't mean he applies any of it. So the better question to ask is not, has he done self-development? For you, be going, what am I looking for? What are those qualities? So it's the same thing with emotionally available. What are the qualities I'm looking for? Because I could ask a dozen women and they would all have different answers as to what emotionally available is. So you need to identify it for yourself. What's that? What am I looking for? What are the qualities? What are the behaviors? What are the characteristics? And then you check in. Not is he or isn't he this, but how is he being that? Be open to possibilities because he could be doing it in a way you never even thought about. And you're like, wow, he's really open like this. I never even thought about that, but that's a really cool way of being open. I like that. It opens the possibilities because really all you care about is that quality. It's not about, did he do this work or is he into this box that I've just created saying this is what emotionally available looks like. So check in for yourself ahead of time. What are the qualities I'm looking for in a partner? How do I want to feel when I'm with them? That's really the payoff because Mr. Right is not a person. It's a feeling. It's how you feel when you're with that person. He could check every other box, be the most handsome man in the world, be worth millions of dollars, want to fly you around the world and wine and dine you, and you feel uncomfortable with him the whole time. Doesn't matter. Now you cannot dismiss that. I actually worked with a woman who was married to an A-list guy in Hollywood, all this stuff, and she was literally breaking down. Her health was going to hell because it was so out of alignment with her. But she had this vision since she was a little girl that she was going to marry an actor. And she did. And it literally trashed her life because she wasn't paying attention to the feelings, the emotions that were necessary there. So when you're looking at this, you really want to look at the qualities. It's not about some title of emotionally available or self-help. It's about how does he show up? How do you feel in his presence?
Yeah, that was really well said, Ken. And I just want to say also, I think we have to be really careful about making hasty judgments like first dates and second dates, because I really think you need to see how someone shows up over a period of time. Patterns and getting to know someone is what really tells you who they are. And I think if they talk about themselves nonstop on a first date, that doesn't mean they're a narcissist. That might mean they're really nervous. Just saying.
Yeah.
So we have to be careful about the hasty judgments. Okay, Dave, you ready to go?
That one or another question? Because I have a thought on that too.
Okay, share your thought, and then I have a new question for you.
Quick thought. That was a great answer, Ken. The other thing I'd add to it, the presupposition underneath of that question is, how do I make sure that this doesn't happen again? How do I make sure that I don't run in, or again, how do I make sure I don't run into an unavailable man? And then, so underneath of that, I suspect it's not the first time. And so my question that I usually turn it around is, if that's happening once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, the question then has to become, where might you be unavailable? So that's a really good turnaround, because a lot of times a lot of people don't realize you're co-creating every single relationship that you ever have. You're bringing at least 50% to it. They are too. So if this is something that continues to show up, it's something for you to look into as well. Not just look for it in other people. I just wrote a book about that. So patterns are really important.
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah.
And
sorry,
thank you, Ken. All right. So, Dave, I have a new question for you.
Okay.
This is one we get a lot. This is from Luana. She says, what is up with paying? I've gotten good and bad reactions from both, offering to pay and not.
Oh my gosh. Yes. We have had this one come up a bunch of times.
Yeah.
One of the things, I actually wrote a blog on this a long time ago, and I said, the idea is basically paying is a symbol or a representation that a man can protect and provide for you. Paying for a meal is literally the act of providing for you. And so one of the ways that I like to do it is, like, you don't have to assume that everyone knows that, because they don't. So I wrote this blog and I said, basically you could say, I read this blog one. You could say, if you finish dinner and the bill is still sitting there and no one's reached for it, you can actually ask the question, what did you want to do about the bill? And they can figure out something, or, offer something, or say, oh, I've got it, don't worry about it, or, we can split it or whatever. And in a subtle way to educate at the same time, if they're not aware, and say, I always like to ask, and I don't want to assume. I read this blog one time, my blog, and it said, that's a way that men like to provide for, demonstrate their ability to provide. And I realized that if I ever take that ability away from them, that's really not fair. I take away their ability to provide. So I was like to ask about that. And so what we've done is we've educated them, given them the opportunity, and then they can take it back and decide to do it. But I think it's kind of stealth, because some people aren't aware, some people might not think of it that way. So I think it's just a great way to kind of be okay with whatever happens, but you just kind of put it out there, and you might just educate someone along the way and get them to think about it in a different way.
I like that. Thank you. That's great. It's a lot more graceful than like trying to pull out the wallet without trying to pull out the wallet
Right.
out of your purse as a woman. Like, should I, shouldn't I, should I, shouldn't I? So
I think what I also like is that it's elegant, and it kind of assumes the best about people. And I think that's why I kind of liked it. Thank you.
Yeah, very, very nicely done. Okay, Carrie. Let's see, this is from Erica. Erica says, my parents are living with me because I need to help them sometimes. They are in their 70s. How do I phrase this to my dates without scaring them? If I'm married, I would live separately, but near them.
Well, that's a great question. And Erica, thank you for caring for your parents. That's a precious thing that, no matter, we can't give back enough as a child to our parents, no matter what. So, I would respond back to you, Erica, don't worry about this, especially at the beginning of a relationship, because if you're going out on some dates, you don't need to come back to your place and feel out the gentleman, or how he is, and from that kind of feeling, and then you could share, if it does come up, like, my folks live with me, and we need to, figure out certain creative ways to have private time or things like that. And again, it's not going to scare anyone off who really is caring for you, Erica. So I want you to know that, and to dispel that kind of thinking out of your head, and to then kind of attract someone who is going to be okay when you do express, when that time does come, to let them know that, yeah, your parents are living with you right now, and that's that. There's many ways to be creative. I'm learning, in terms of having that quality time, having that connection time. It's kind of similar, as I'll just speak for myself, as this is partly a new aspect of my life. I'm daddy in training now as well. And so with two young kids. So, one is, again, having the quality time with my partner, but also, being there for the kids too. And, and that's such a great question as well. Women, who are single moms wonder if they can really attract a guy to be with them because they have kids, and the answer is most definitely yes. So it's another for the right guy, for the guy who cares for you, he's going to see that your kids are part of his extension of caring and love. So it's the same thing. The right guy for you, Erica, will understand your caring gift that you're giving to your parents. He's going to take that as a great value, because if you're caring for your parents, then it's also going to say in the future, if needed, you'll be there to care for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's going to be very attractive to the right person. Thank you so much for that, Carrie. Okay, let's see. I think we're back to Ken, right?
Yeah, it looks that way.
All right, Ken. And I think she's asking, like, as a man, what are some cues that let you know you want a second date with a woman?
Oh, I love this question. This is a fabulous question, because everybody wants to know, what am I supposed to do so he wants to ask me out again? I get this question so many times, it's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let me just share a little something that happened. So for years, I was running these events where it would be a he said, she said kind of thing, where we'd split the room in half, men on one side, women on the other. And we would have each side get asked questions about the other gender. Every single event I ever held, at least one woman said, what do we got to do to get a second date? That's the big mystery question, right? You don't do anything. It's not about wearing a red dress or smiling really extra or laughing at his jokes. It's about being. So here's the answer that I got from every guy every time. Some variation on, I don't know, there's just something about you. Makes me want to spend more time with you. And what I reference you to is that old movie, There's Something About Mary. That entire movie was a whole line of guys. The closest they could get was, I don't know, there's just something about Mary. But they all wanted to be near her. So here's the something that it is. It's life force energy. Mm-hmm. Women, when you're glowing, when you're emanating, when you're being your real self, we want it. We don't even know what it is. Most guys have no idea what to call it. It's this vibe. Guys will call it a vibe or a feeling. There's just something we're like, well, I want to be around that more. So stop worrying about what to wear, or what to say, or what to do. If the guy's clicking with that, he'll be like, wow, I want to spend more time with this. If he's not, great, it's just not a match, no big deal. If it's not, it doesn't matter what you do. It's not going to change things. It's the same way if a man approaches you, right? So a man comes up and he's going to introduce himself. Before he opens his mouth, you already know if you're interested. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what he says. He could say the smoothest line in the world and you already aren't interested, and it won't matter. Or he could say the stupidest thing in the world and you would think, oh, isn't that cute? Because you already decided you liked it. So it's not about what you're doing. We've already made that assessment long before we get there. Be yourself, let that life force energy flow, and that is going to get you to the right people to ask you on a second date.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ken. I really appreciate that. I think that you're tapping into something really important here, which is it's not about doing. It's about being. It's about who you are. And I think sometimes because there's such a plethora of advice out there online and in these kinds of events and that sort of thing, which is valuable. But I think there's so much of it that sometimes women can't even relax and just enjoy being there on a date because they have all of this stuff going through their mind. Oh, I should do this, or I should say that, or this or that or the other. And relaxing and just enjoying the moment and being present and being you, the real you, that's what's going to invite the right man to want to be with you. And I love this term that you said, light force energy.
Yeah, it's life force, your life.
Life force energy.
Yeah, it's the creative energy that allows women to create life. Mm-hmm. You've got it. We don't. We never will. And we like it a lot.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of
you bring that forward, and I know half of you are sitting there going, how do I bring that forward? That's always the next question, right? There's not a how. You do it naturally when you're being authentic. When you're being yourself, it comes forward. And every woman has their own flavor of this. That's why it's not a universal thing. Some guys will be like, wow, that's really attractive to me. And the next guy's like, yeah, didn't do it for me. So know that there's nothing to compare to. You've got your own variation that's going to be magnetic to the right people. Mm-hmm. It's a lot easier than trying to figure out which place to go. Let it happen. Be yourself and be that glowing, radiant woman that you are.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's come forward from these man panels is that it's really incredibly attractive for women to be centered in joy, to be centered in their passions. A lot of the men that I've interviewed have said that part of what attracted them to the woman that they're with is that they could see this woman like being lit from within, because she's happy, she's joyful, she's excited about her life, she's sharing her passions, her feelings, and he can see into her heart. And I kind of think this is like kind of your own brand of femininity. This is part of what makes you a feminine woman and helps a man be able to kind of go from that headspace into his heart space a little bit more when he senses that and feels that from you.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay, let's see. This is from Laurie.
Okay.
She says, this is another common question we all get. With online dating, should you wait for a man to reach out to you first? Don't men like to make the first move, enjoy the chase early on? Also, it gets tiring emailing back and forth. How many emails do you recommend before moving on if a man doesn't ask you for a phone number or for a date? Well, there's a lot there, Dave.
That is. And I'm glad I got that question, because I actually wrote a book on online dating called Catch Your Match Formula. I answer those questions in the book. One, how many, what was the first question was, how do you get attention, or do you wait for a man to approach you? Yes, masculine energy is kind of the hunter energy, so you want to kind of inspire it. Does not mean, however, that you cannot green light him. And the way I recommend that you green light a man is you go look through profiles too. You don't have to just sit there, like a maiden just sitting there waiting to get attention. You can go and look at them too. And if you find someone that's kind of intriguing, or if you see something you like, find something in his profile that say, and send it to him. Say, hey, Carrie, I was reading your profile. That sounds really great about that thing. Tell me more about living in Hawaii or whatever. Find out something specific to him. Ask him a question about it, because again, open-ended questions from our earlier question presumes he has to answer it. He can't answer with a yes or no. And if he's intrigued, he's now going to say, oh, who's this? And now he's going to look at your profile. So you actually got his eyeballs on your profile. You green-lighted him. You gave him permission to respond to you. It makes it easy. And two, you complimented him. And here's the thing, that's just good dating karma. And I think if you just compliment people, you throw them out there, you don't necessarily need it to come back. But if you just say, hey, I loved what you said in your profile, that was really cool, well done. Curious about that. If they want to get back to you, great. If they don't, you still gave them a compliment. You still left them better than you found them. So I think it's really, again, elegant and classy. So it's a great way to get on the radar if you're not necessarily on the radar. And the second question after that was... can you remind me?
She was saying it gets kind of tiring going back and forth, and how long should you do that if he doesn't ask you out or it doesn't go to the next step?
I just got this question from a client very recently, and I said, you know what, you need a policy. And the policy is you can actually say, look, I got a pretty full schedule with a demanding job, some kids, this and that. Look, my policy is, I want to meet people sooner rather than later. I'd love to meet and connect with people, but honestly, I really don't have that kind of time. If you're interested, let's get together, have a coffee, sit down, chat, and we'll see about going to the next level there. But let the policy do the work. The policy is, like, I don't have the luxury to sit here and gab for months on end, open-ended. My policy is, if you want to meet, ask me out. And then you'll kind of separate the people who are a little bit more serious from those who are not. And what you're also subtly saying is, like, I got stuff going on. I bring value to the table, and I'm not just here willy-nilly to speak to everybody who wants to throw questions at me. I've got stuff going on. Again, that's a high-value woman. So let the policy do the work and say, happy to chat with you, answer one or two questions, but then say, look, got to be honest, I got a policy. The policy is this. If you're interested, recommend a time, and let's see if we can make it work. And then they'll either ask you out or they'll fall away. Either way, you got what you needed.
Yeah, so I want to ask you something, Dave. I want to ask a follow-up question, because like this policy thing sounds kind of formal to me. I'm just being honest, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
One of the things, and so I just want to try this on and see what you think. One of the things I recommend, I think it's good to have a policy in your mind, but saying it like, this is my policy, maybe that's setting a standard or boundary. But like, I wonder if the first blush of that could be something like, I'm really enjoying our conversation online and think it would be fun to meet you. If you'd like to suggest a time or ask me out, it'd be great to connect in person. Like, you're still throwing it out and you're still putting the ball in his court, but it, like, to me, sounds like a little bit more inviting, invitational. Just wondering what you think.
Yeah, I think that's great. I'm always about like softening it and making it elegant and inviting. But again, at the same time, you're kind of in the question, underneath of the question was, is it okay to do this? And so that's why I came up with this policy thing. It was just like, look, and it also presupposes that there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of other people that want to talk to you and are using up your not using up your time, but taking your time. And you could, spend a lot of time. Online dating can be very time intensive. And there are some people they're just tire kickers. They're going to want to talk and talk and talk and talk, and they won't move forward. So I think especially for those after a while, I just think, and call it what you want. You just say it's a preference. I really need to do it sooner. I can't really do it. I'm just using a policy to give people permission to do it because they don't necessarily feel like they're doing it because it's not a nice girl thing to do. But at the same time, it's effective and it's efficient, and men understand effective and efficient.
Yeah, and it's also centered in a woman knowing her own value, because a woman is not going to continue to invest her time, energy, attention into someone who's not reciprocally doing that back. Right.
100%. Yep.
So I like that. Okay, I got caught up in that question and I wasn't looking for the next question. Who are we on? Carrie, or is it you?
I think
Carrie? It's me.
Okay.
I'll look at that.
Let's see. There was one that I saw that I wanted to come back to, and I just want to make sure I find it again. Let's see. This is Susie. How would you recommend dealing with a man who says he loves me and demonstrates that, but vacillates between expressing an interest in marrying me and doubting that he is in a place to marry or ever will be? I wanted to ask you this since you're newly engaged, Carrie. And so I'm guessing the underlying thing here is probably Susie would like to be in a committed relationship leading to marriage, and he's vacillating even though he's loving.
Sure. Great question. And thank you, Susie, for asking that question. First off is, allowing, and that's taking in if he is expressing he's loving you. Okay. And also, how long have you been connected, been dating or in a serious relationship with him as well? So you have to look at that timing, as well as exploring your values, your needs may be equal to his or not, and to breathe, to have a friendly conversation about marriage. Is that important to him? Is it not important to him? Was he married before? Did he have a good experience, not experience? Same with you. Instead of like a forcing, have an exploration of understanding. And from that, and once you kind of have a number of different kind of conversations over time about things, let say things and then let them simmer if they're not in a complete accordance. Feel that out. And then if there is a place over time where you feel like he is really loving you, but is showing maybe gun shy or afraid to commit in that sense to marriage, then explore that again, being straight out in front and asking that question. Are you, afraid to get married to me? And if so, why? Is it me personally? Because you might find it's not about you personally at all, Susie. It could be about his experiences. It could be about his history, his growing up, and maybe his parents got divorced and he's afraid to have that happen again. So if you're willing to explore this, and as a lover, and more importantly, I would say as a friend, to get to know him more, then you're going to have a lot more understanding of how to go about exploring, are you two meant to get married? Is he someone who wants to get married? And is it something that can be worked out over time? Because, generally, if there are issues there, they can be worked out. And it's and the thing is, like, marriage happens way before the ceremony happens. And Susie, the reality of marriage is going to happen, and the importance of that is more important than the ceremony itself as well. So let's get to deepening this friendship and this core, and then that will naturally lead to what you need to do. Are you on the pathway to getting married, or are you on the pathway of going, wow, I'm with someone who has potential, but it's not actualized? Meaning, like, he, in whatever reasons in himself, he's afraid. He's afraid to make that kind of commitment to himself and to a relationship. So, that's what I love to share with you about it. Have fun with it. Don't get so pressured about, the wedding kind of thing, being married.
You know what, Carrie? One thing I really liked that you brought forward there was that I think sometimes we're afraid to ask the questions because we're afraid of the answers, right? And you're basically saying, ask the questions, be bold, be courageous, to seek to understand. It comes back to that seeking first to understand and then to be understood concept. And I think sometimes because we're afraid of the answers, we don't ask the questions because we're not quite sure we're ready to hear what might come forward. But relationships, to be successful, have to be grounded in truth. And so we have to be bold and courageous and seek the truth and to seek what's really going on if something like this is a big ongoing question.
Yeah, it's great, Michelle. And, in my, with my wife that has passed on, we had a great relationship that led me to want to get married again. But I could see the opposite. If you didn't have a good relationship, or if your history, like I mentioned, of parents that got divorced and that affected you, that's in your kind of psyche and just needs to be explored. And beautiful. Ask the questions and be willing to explore them.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. Now I lost track. Are we on you, Ken?
Yes, that's the way it's been going.
Okay, good. All right. This is from Estrella. Estrella, hopefully I'm saying your name correctly. She says, I'm 40 and I've been exclusive for 8 months with a man. He's been single, focused with a new job position, and hasn't made time for us in a month. He's been a gentleman, but I feel so insignificant now. He does contact me via text to check in. Am I just a safe bet?
That's a good question, Estrella. I like that.
It's a good question.
And it's a vulnerable one. So thanks for being open.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't answer, are you just a safe bet? Obviously, that's the question you need to ask him. So this comes back to what Michelle just said. You obviously have a question you're afraid to ask him. Mm-hmm. And so you're asking us, which is okay. It's a start point. But the truth is, he's the only one that can answer that question with absolute certainty. And I also want to ask you, could you tell me again, Michelle, the part she said about he's a gentleman or something?
Let me see if I can go back to it. She said something like, let's see. He has been a gentleman, but I feel so insignificant now. Basically, she says they've been in a relationship for 8 months, but he's in a new job, hasn't made time for us, for them in a month, has been a gentleman, but I feel so insignificant now. He does contact me via text to check in. Am I just a safe bet?
Got it. So here's the other key component, and what I'm hearing in your question, Estrella, is you're hanging on to who he was at some point. He's been a gentleman, but he hasn't made time for you in a month. Well, we can hang on to he's been a gentleman for the rest of your life if you want to. But the truth is, how are you being treated now? You even said it, right? You don't feel like you're a priority. You don't feel like you matter. You feel like you're just a safe bet. So clearly that doesn't sit well for you.
Right.
And this is about boundaries. So you're not letting him know what you need to be your best with him. So no matter what, if he showed up tomorrow, you would still have this going on. Yeah, but the last month he never even called me. And you might excuse that behavior and wipe it all away because he shows up with a bouquet of flowers. But the truth is, it's about how you feel with him. You shared with us how you feel. You don't feel good. This is not good. Yeah, you've kind of rationalized and explained away this bad behavior, which is a very easy thing to do when we're afraid of the actual answer. What if the answer is he's not as interested as he was at one point? He decided it wasn't there. Okay, wouldn't you rather know that than sit there in this torturous space of I don't know what's going on and I'm not getting anything from him? And yeah, sure, I get a few texts. It's like I get a few crumbs that fall off the table, but I'm really starving here. That's basically what you just told us. So this is when it's time to be honest with yourself. And like I said, he's the only one that can really answer that. Maybe it is a job situation. I don't know his situation. But he's the only one that can answer it. So this is where you've got to either get curious or decide you're not even interested in finding out. But when you get curious, it's not an inquisition. It's literally being curious. I'm literally curious, like, what happened and do you see an end to this? Like, you got a new job. I get that. I know there's some other things going on, but I'm curious, like, is that all you want is somebody to text every once in a while? Or is there something more here? And is there an insight to this change in our relationship? Because it's about where you are today. Like I said, you can hang on to once upon a time, he was a gentleman. And there are countless people that do that. I talk to women every day that are telling me the story of how, yeah, but he was once really wonderful. I talked to a woman the other day. This will blow your mind potentially. So she's been hanging on to these things because of where he was at one point for 23 years.
Oh.
And she's still, but maybe that will show up. I'm like, 23 years? Like, that was the first 6 months of your relationship, and ever since, you're just hoping that comes back? But she's so afraid of walking away. Clearly, 23 years. It can happen faster than you think. You'll look up one day and go, I've been with this guy for 5 years. That all changed when you took that job, and it's never gotten better. It's not going to solve itself. You've got to get curious. You've got to ask those questions. And the truth is, if you're not that interested, then let him know that too. And be like, look, if this is all there is, this doesn't work for me. And do it from your heart. With a man, here's something I want all of you to write down. You can never be too direct with a man as long as it's coming from love. The last part is the most important. Telling a man, you suck, or why don't you ever do that? That's not coming from love. That's coming from anger. That's coming from frustration. That's coming from worry. That's coming from fear. But when you're really curious, genuinely curious, like a little kid is curious, I really want to understand. That's coming from love. I want to understand what's going on. What's happening? Because I don't quite get it. Like, we used to spend time together. Now all I get is a few texts. If you're not interested, that's fine. Let me know, but I want to understand. That's curiosity. That will open him up. Mm-hmm. So thank you for asking and being open with that, Estrella. Very good.
Yeah, that was a very, very good answer. And yes, you cannot be too direct if you're asking the question from a place of love and that place of curiosity. And it comes back to what we talked about earlier about not being afraid of knowing the truth, because the example you gave, Ken, of 23 years is heartbreaking. But there's so many women that are in the what I call fantasy stage, which is this relationship or this man would be so great if only he was not still married, or if only he was putting effort into our relationship, or if only whatever. The problem is that's not the reality. That's the fantasy. That's what they wish was happening. And women, unfortunately, will invest months, even years of their time into those kind of relationships. From a personal experience, I had a relationship in my 30s where I was madly in love with this guy, and we had this on again, off again thing, but he was never really fully in it, right? He would give me just kind of enough to kind of keep hanging on, and we'd kind of try things again and again. When I got engaged to my husband, he actually said to me, Michelle, I always thought you'd be an option. He didn't mean that mean.
It's
He
not
just
for him.
really always thought I would be an option for him.
Yeah.
You don't want to be making someone else a priority who thinks of you as an option.
Exactly.
All right. So, Dave, let's see. This is a good one, too. This is unfortunately something that happens too often. I'm on the right person, right, Dave?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Susie says, greetings. I was scammed about 2 years ago, both romantically and financially. Sorry that happened, Susie. What are some ways to share this experience? I think meaning share this experience with someone new she's dating after I have developed a trust with someone. Thanks.
Wow, that is a good one. My first question is, why do you need to? Like, what is, I don't really know enough details there, but like, I mean, you could. We've all got a lot of stories and things that have happened in the past, but there's maybe more to it that I don't really understand the significance to it. That might, maybe that would be why you might have a little reticence to connect with people online. That makes it obviously a topic you'd want to talk about. The thing is, I would suggest doing some work in some way to get okay with it and not take it personally. It sounds like underneath of it, there's some guilt and shame, maybe. And if there's guilt and shame, that's not great for you, because the fact is this happens. And a lot of times we take it personally, like we beat ourselves up and say, oh my God, I can't believe I was so stupid or whatever. And that's not really fair, because there are people out there who are very they're very good at pulling these scams, and they're way more prevalent than anyone really wants to acknowledge. I'm glad she's sharing it. I'm really sorry it happened. I would say try to find the empowering lesson in it, and once you do, then it's great to share that story, especially, because this happened to me. It doesn't define me. Here's what I learned from it. Here's why I'm better because of it. And here's why that'll never happen again. So I think that's a great frame for it. But again, I don't know enough about where she is with it. It sounds like there's still some guilt and shame. My recommendation, no matter what she does, is work on that. It's not her fault. It just happens, and there are people who are just great con artists, and we just have to be careful about trust and verify, essentially.
Yeah, it kind of almost sounds like there might be a little bit of a temptation to project the past onto a present person, and we have to be careful about that. Like, because someone did that in the past, you don't want to make that assumption it's going to happen with a new person, right?
Or to give an excuse for a behavior that's not resolved yet, too. Like, now, because this person did that, now I can't trust you. It's like, well, wait a minute, this person didn't do anything to you. And that's not really fair, and that's you speaking from the wounded self. And that's why I'm saying do some work around that for you individually. It's the best gift that you can give yourself. It doesn't define you.
Yeah. Forgiving yourself and forgiving that other person so that you can release that so it no longer has a hold on you. The power of forgiveness is really, really powerful in some of these situations. If you've been hurt or harmed, it's not always easy, but it can help release you from something that's holding on to you from the past. Okay, Carrie, this is a good one for you because I know you do this kind of work. Lydia is asking us, what is your best recommendation to free myself from the pain and memory of a past painful relationship? We're kind of on a similar track here a little bit.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Lydia, for a great question. And first is to be in your heart of what exactly you were what happened in the relationship. I don't have the details there, but so I'm going to respond in more of a global way, but look at what happened. Be kind of as, again, like kind of as Dave was just sharing, be accepting of yourself, and be, one level here, be embracing what has happened. Then also go, what is this? What is my part in this? Is the next level to come out of, so that you don't fall into like a betrayal or a victim kind of mentality. Is like, what do I need to learn from this? And that's we're in relationships to grow. Okay. Now that may be different than what many women or men think about, but a relationship is really to grow, and to grow in ourselves. And so relationships can be challenging at times, as Lydia, you're found out from a past experience. However, get excited that is that opportunity to blossom, to grow more in your heart, in your resolve, in your values, in your care for loving yourself and respecting of loving yourself, and for our next relationship. So therefore, too, then work on clearing out anything that is there, so you don't repeat this pattern, as well as you don't project this pattern onto another person. So, if there's doubts, fears, or insecurities, without, that's a big thing that I work on with folks. I would just say, due to time here, just know that if any of those things, anxieties, fears, doubts come up, they're actually trying to help you achieve your greatest potential of love. They're not trying to take you down. That's the overall piece here, to be in your heart, to look over what did happen, accept it, then take the responsibility to clear it, and they get excited about the next relationship that you've learned from this, and you're going to do it better. You're going to show up better, and you're also not going to allow, if a certain pattern has shown up from that past experience that you got hurt, you're going to catch it sooner. And then, like we're talking about here, Michelle, be bold, be honest, be direct. If something, someone, shows up in the future and says something or acts something that's a little funny or strange, you can just say that, oh, that was a little strong, or that was strange. I know in a previous relationship, that was a piece that I didn't do at the very beginning of the relationship. And I watched this pattern play out. And I didn't address it at the beginning because I was like, it's no big deal. And the action wasn't a big deal from this woman, but what it did is opened me up later on in the months later to realize, oh, this is a whole way of how this person shows up, which was just saying she was showing up more me-centric, not we-centric. And it took me months to realize that. I would have gotten it probably on the first or second date, and may have changed the course of that time of my relationship with her. However, I learned, no matter what, I learned. So you can too learn, Lydia, and learn and move forward, and be excited about more loving yourself and a loving relationship. So thanks.
Thank you, Carrie. And I want to share a compliment that someone has given to you, Carrie. This is from Karen. She says, Carrie, love obviously agrees with you. You are looking great with the swoony smile, the stars in your eyes, the blue shirt, and the tropical background. Nice work, sir.
Thank you for your kindness, Karen. Thank you. Appreciate it. I just
thought it would be nice to pass that on. And actually, while we're feeling the love, ladies, I want us all to send like deep love vibrations to all three of these men, because they're rock stars. They truly care about women out there. They're truly serving. people on the planet. I admire and respect all of them so much. So I want to just like send them some huge vibrational love energy here to all three of them. Do you feel it, guys?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, receive it,
Thank you, Michelle.
because we're all sending it. The intention of all of these women here are sending love to you because we love you. We appreciate you. There are good men out there. And one of the things that has come from me doing these man panels is my own appreciation of men has grown so much deeper. I mean, I liked men before. I love men. I love men. I mean, I'm a married woman. I love one man a little more than the rest. But I'm a huge fan of men out there. And I can tell you, because I support amazing clients, there are some amazing, beautiful, good-hearted men out there. So if you're feeling a little bit down with that, I just want to reassure you, these three guys are perfect examples of that. There are really good men out there in the world. And so I'm happy that we get to send them some love. So thanks for indulging me in that moment of a little love fest.
Yeah, thank you.
Literally my pleasure.
I hope you all felt it and received it.
Yes.
Okay, so what I'd like to do is, we're getting close to our time. I want to do maybe one more round of questions, and then I want to give the three of you a chance to just kind of leave us with a parting thought. Anything you'd want to say to the ladies, or anything you just want to share as we sign out. So we'll do one more round of questions, and then we'll let you share back what you want, and then we'll go from there. So in my love fest, I totally lost track of who I'm asking a question to. Can you guys help me? If you can, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
I didn't say anything. I just waved as if you couldn't hear me. I don't know why I did that.
Okay, sorry. Okay, this is another common question we get, Ken. I know you're going to be the perfect guy for this. I'm dating a guy who talks about himself and doesn't ask about me. Would it be a good idea to just start giving him information about me? He does seem like he likes me, and we enjoy being together. It just seems a little one-sided. We hear this a lot, don't we?
Yep. So, and who is this from?
Sorry, I lost my place. Let me look here. Anonymous attention.
Okay, good.
It's
Dear
anonymous.
Anonymous.
It's anonymous.
Yeah, no worries. One, I don't really know the context, right? Like how long have you been dating, so on and so forth. But it's just, I mean, honestly, it's not that hard. If it doesn't align, if it doesn't feel good, if it doesn't feel honoring, and you feel like this is one-sided, get curious. Hey, I'm just wondering, you don't seem to really have a lot of questions about me. Is there any reason? Not, why don't you have questions about me? But like, literally, I want to know. I don't know. You probably have a good reason. Oh, I didn't even think about it. Sometimes I get caught up in what I'm saying, and it's like, oh, okay, well, it'd be nice if you threw a question my way once in a while, whatever it is. But again, you got to pay attention to how you feel. He doesn't know this. He's probably not even, okay, let me stop right there. First thing you got to understand is men are single focused. So we literally are like this. We're focused on something. Oh, I'm supposed to be open and talk. Remember, you ladies, first question we had was, how come guys don't talk more? How do we get to know you? So this guy's working on talking. I don't know. I don't know anything about your situation. Maybe he's just a guy who talks about himself all the time. Whatever. You got to let him know. Like, hey, what about me? And the other thing to be aware of is those are your needs. You need to feel included. You need to feel like there's some give and take here. Okay. He doesn't know your measuring stick. He could have been with the last person he dated was like, you never talk, so he's making extra efforts to talk. And they never said anything, so he thought, oh, this must be what women are looking for. So he does that. Maybe his last girlfriend or wife or whatever didn't like talking. And so he's like, so I quit asking questions. I guess women don't like that. It's one of the big things to remember is we don't know how that person was trained, whether it was by their ex-girlfriend, their ex-wife, their mom, their sisters. Who knows? So it's your job to actually train them in what you need. Guys like being trained. We want to get it right. We literally do. But you got to think of us like dogs. Not the way you're thinking of us like dogs, but like when you train a dog to do a trick, do you just go, roll over, and he does it right away, and everything's done, and you never have to teach him anything more. No. You try, and he tries, and he doesn't do so good, and you go, okay, that was a good try. Let's keep going. And you keep doing it if it matters enough until he gets there. So treat us the same way. Help us out. I say this everywhere I go. Men are the world's worst guessers. And we know it. We know we're horrible guessers. This is why men say, I can't read your mind. We suck at guessing. Stop wanting us to guess. Because what happens is we guess a few times, we fail, which is typical what happens when you guess. And you are like disappointed. So we're like, wow, I'm not doing very good. Men are wired, as Dave mentioned earlier, to be efficient and effective. Mm-hmm. Well, if we were like, okay, I tried 5 times, none of that worked, that's not efficient or effective, bad use of my energy. Guess what? I'm going to stop guessing. That's a more efficient use of my energy. So you've got to train us into, hey, I don't want you to guess. I want you to know so we can be partners here. This isn't a power play. There's no place for power in a relationship. That's total BS. Oh, I can't tell him I love him because I'll lose the power. That's not what if you're in a power play, you're in a manipulation. That has got nothing to do with a partnership. You're just trying to manipulate that other person. So if that's where you're at, it doesn't work. But if this is where you're at, where you're going, I need more, let him know. Help the guy out. Now, he could still be a knucklehead and not do anything about it and just keep jabbering on. Well, then you get to decide. Okay, apparently that's what he has available. Do I want to stay here or not? You don't have to just say, oh, I got to deal with this because I guess that's how he is. That's a cop-out. All that is you not wanting to ask for what you need. So speak up, let him know. Again, if you care enough. If you don't and you're like, I'm just looking for the reason to justify getting out of here, go for it. It's always going to come back to what works for you. But if this doesn't align, you've got to address it because he will not be able to guess that. And I know it feels obvious to you. You're like, but this is so obvious. Here's the thing about things that feel obvious. Write this down as well. When something feels obvious to you, guaranteed it's not obvious to them. So there's only 2 possible outcomes if you state something that you think is obvious, and both of them are a winning end result. One, you state something, you're like, hey, I just want you to know this. And they're like, yeah, I knew that. Great. You just confirmed that they knew it. You win. You say, hey, I want you to know this. And they're like, really? I had no idea. Now he knows. You win. There's no negative outcome from stating the obvious. There's always a negative outcome from not stating the obvious. So if it feels obvious to you, that's God saying, you better talk about this. So there's my rant. That was a rant. I kind of liked it. Fun.
Your rants get raped.
Oh, I like that too.
I love that you were talking about training a man and there was a train sound effect in the background.
Yeah. It's amazing what my producer does here. He's really, really on top of it. And did you get the thunder and lightning? I got the whole storm clouds effect going on right now. We're in the middle of a thunderstorm. So.
Wow. Nice sound effects. Good job. All right. Dave, now this is an open-ended one. There's a lot you could go with here, but I think a lot of women really have this as a question. This is Susan, and she says, what characteristics do you find most attractive in a woman? So Dave, maybe you can think back to dating, some of the qualities, characteristics that attracted you to your wife, what you notice about women in general, like what do you find most attractive in a woman? Because women wonder this all the time, right? It's like,
yeah.
The physical thing, but beyond that,
I think we kind of alluded to it earlier. I think it was Ken that was saying it. The life force energy is radiance. Really, that's the number one. Even men who are not looking. The fact is, we notice a woman who is lit up from within, and that's just a really powerful and compelling thing. And the shorthand, again, logic and efficiency and effectiveness is. She's happy, I think I can keep her that way, is a lot easier than taking a woman who's unhappy and then trying to make her happy. So if she's in a great place, if she's radiant, if she's lit up from the inside, she loves her life. She's got things that meaningful work, and she feels like she's on the right track in life. She's got things to offer, bring to the table. She's nurturing, she's kind, loving, appreciative, just generally grateful for where she is. I mean, I think those things are just amazing rock star qualities that I think any man will sit up and take notice about those. And it literally, here's the reality is it sets you apart from the competition, because not everyone is in a great place. Not everyone loves where they are in life. Not everyone, is doing this work, So everyone who signs up for this program, though, they're going to be by the time we finish. But that's the key, I think, just someone who's in a really great place.
Mm-hmm. And I loved what you said there, Dave. I think this is, I want to put the exclamation point on what you said about a woman being happy. When a woman's happy, a man knows that, he doesn't have to do the big heavy lifting just
Right.
to get her into that happy state. He's already kind of going to be partnered with someone, and he knows he's going to be able to win because she's already happy. He doesn't have to carry that whole load of trying to make her happy. He
Right.
wants to add to her life. He wants to add to her happiness, but he doesn't have to make her happy. And I think that's really, really key. I'm glad you brought that out.
We want to be the hero. And so if she's already happy, that kind of makes it a lot easier for us to be there. And that's the other thing too. If she sees that men can actually be a hero and she believes that, oh my gosh, it's done. You're definitely going to want to see them again.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm going to ask Carrie one more question, and then I'm going to share just a couple of really quick compliments that some ladies have sent in to you three, and then I'm going to let you have a chance to wrap us up. So Carrie, this one is a little bit tricky. This is Sam. She says, if a man is committed to his partner for 6 months and has had intimate relationships with her, but says that he's still not ready to be affectionate in public, what to make of it, she says. Note that he is not hesitant to show people we are together. So they've been intimate, and she thinks he's committed, but he's not ready to show or be affectionate in public. Kind of a tricky question, huh?
Can be, but as the theme of today is, to you, Sam, be direct. Don't think about what it might be, what it could mean. It could mean a lot of things. And it more than likely has nothing to do with you, Sam, about his affection and care with you. Something may have happened in his life that it's now, or some situation in his life that said repetitively, don't show affection in public, and it's stuck in him, and it could be a challenge. I don't know the answer right now, but you're going to find out. Ask him directly as a friend, Sam. Just say, hey, I notice it seems like care. Bring your heart to the table. Care for him. Forget about your needs and say, hey, I sense you're a little uncomfortable with showing public, display of affection to me. Is that true? And if so, please, share with me. I'd love to hear about it. And maybe I can be of assistance with you on that and find out where he's at. That's the door opener. And then see where it goes. And then if there is something that happened to him, maybe there was something that happened to him traumatically that he needs some help with. See if he's open to it. Give him time as well to reflect on how much he's ready to explore that, whatever the answer is. But be kind, be direct, be loving, and think about him in this case more than yourself, your needs. And then by doing that, I bet you it will flower. It will show what's going to happen by you caring for him more than yourself. And then it'll be shown where things are going to go. And some people too are, some people just as well are just not as comfortable to express and show their affection and emotion publicly. Find out. And then my suggestion, regardless of where it goes, and if he's open to it, then say, are you willing to take a step in that direction. Maybe that's, holding hands on a street where on a late night when no one's around, that he just becomes a little bit more comfortable with it. So be playful, take it, don't take it as such a big thing, but find out, because I don't know. And you find out. And that'll be a wonderful thing, I'm sure, for your relationship. So great question. Thank you, Sam.
So let's let each of you just leave us with a parting thought. And again, thank you so much. And then we'll wrap up for tonight. Ken, you want to go first?
Sure. So one, I just want to thank everybody for their great questions and being open and transparent here, because it's not easy. And I think my parting comment would be kind of one of the underlying themes I've noticed tonight, and it's very, very common, I see this every day, is this fear that something's too good to be true. And I saw a question earlier, I don't think we got to, of somebody who met somebody who seems everything's right, but they're still skeptical. And it's an interesting dynamic, because when it comes to dating, like let's say you know what you're looking for, and all of a sudden that guy shows up. And now you go, wait a minute. Is he a scam? How could this happen? This can't be here. Like, that's too good to be true. And my comment to you all is, I want you to notice if your focus is on the too good to be part instead of the true part. And if it is, we need to talk, because that's going to get you nowhere. And because you don't do this in other places in your life. Like, think about it. You went to a restaurant and you told the chef, hey, I want my meal cooked this way, and I need this on the side, the dressing on the side, and I can't have any butter, whatever it was. If it showed up exactly as you wanted, you wouldn't go, wait a minute, you did exactly what I wanted? This is not, I can't eat this. There's something's wrong. I got what I asked for. But we don't trust the universe to provide the partner we asked for. So the universe is trying to bring them to you. And you're like, I actually had a client did this. This is not a joke. She'd put out her profile. She was very clear about it, so on and so forth. She'd done a lot of intention work around it. She knew exactly what she was looking for. And she goes, Ken, the next day, this guy contacts me, and he's like everything I was looking for. She literally sent him a message and said, I don't believe you're real. I think you're a scam. I'm blocking you.
Wow.
Yeah. So, folks, it can't possibly be. This couldn't have happened that fast. If it happens that fast, it must be a scam. How would the scammer know that? Right? But that was where she went. Here's the weird part. Somehow, and I don't know all the details, he was able to contact her. And the reason was they'd actually met before. He was like, what do you mean I'm not real? We've gotten together. And she's like, what? Huh? What? But that's how much she was focused on. Like, it's not even possible. So notice if you're doing that. It's one of the most common things. We won't even let it show up when it shows up, because now we don't trust it.
Yeah.
So check in for yourself. If you're focused on the too good to be part, you're just wrecking things. You got to be focused on the true. And like I said, if you're focused on the too good to be, that's what I help people with, is get past that so they can have the true. So thank you again for all your questions. Thank you, Michelle and guys, for hosting and being a part of this. And I know you're going to find it. You just got to keep working, and you got to be true to yourself. Peace.
Thank you so much, Ken. Really appreciate you. All right. And now to my wonderful friend, Dave Elliott.
Final words. Let's see. A couple of themes that I noticed tonight. One, you get a lot of latitude if you just ask a question. You come from a place of curiosity, and you come from a place of making a request, or rather than a demand or an emasculation or anything like that. Just ask a simple question or make a request, and you get a lot of latitude with that. The other thing that I want to say is there seemed to be a lot of stacking of situations where they're starting to add up. This has been my thing lately, because it's in this book that I just released 2 weeks ago. Relationships, we get wounded in our relationships in childhood, essentially, and it goes on from there. And then that's phase one. Phase one is we get wounded. Phase two is we get triggered. Phase three is we get healed. And so if you're seeing the same things coming up again and again and again, please hear me. It is not because you suck and no one's ever going to love you. It is because there's something there that is not yet resolved, and it's coming up to trigger you so that you see it from a new perspective, with a new level of wisdom, with a new level of understanding, with a new level of awareness, and you can ultimately heal it. So that's what I want you to take away. If nothing else, it's not happening because you're unlovable. It's happening absolutely because it's there to serve you. If you just get it, you can heal it and be done with it.
So I didn't quite hear you, Dave. You said we get wounded, we get triggered, and then we get...
Ultimately healed. Healed is the third stage. Because again, it's like a lot of this stuff happens in childhood, and a child, if you think about it, in the first 7 years of life, you're going to learn everything that you need to learn for the rest of your life comes in childhood. So you're going to replicate those patterns again and again. And I've created a device in the book where I help you understand exactly what those patterns are. What is recurring? Why is it happening? How is it happening? What do you do when it happens? What do you need to do instead? So it's really powerful when you get it. The assumption that we make is, oh my God, it happened again. I met someone who's unavailable. I met someone who cheated. Or I met someone who was fill in the blank, whatever word you put in. And it's not happening because you're not valuable, or because you don't have great things to offer, or because no one will ever love you. That's not the case, but that's the story we tell. It's happening because it's time to heal it when you have an awareness. So that's what I'm trying to do, is just bring it to people's attention, have this awareness that you can ultimately heal it, and it's happening for you, not to you. So that's what I hope people take away from tonight.
Yeah, and congratulations on your book, Dave. And where do we get your book? Tell us the name and where we get it.
Just happen to have a copy here. My book is called Same Shit, Different Date. We all know that popular vernacular, same stuff, different day. But this is about why do we date the same types of people over and over again. And it kind of connects all the dots that you don't necessarily see. There's a unique string that runs between every person you'll ever date. Or even if you're married or in a steady relationship and you think all of your little individual arguments or upsets have nothing to do with one another, no, that's not true. There's a string that runs between all of them. It's unresolved stuff. And when you see what it is, you can say, got it. And you can heal it. So it's available on Amazon, and I'd love for people to check it out. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it and really appreciate you.
Thank you. My pleasure. Always. Thanks.
Yeah. All right. My dear Carrie, you're up, my friend.
Well, thank you, Michelle. First off, Ken and Dave, wow. I always look forward to these gatherings, and part of it is just hanging with you guys and gleaming your wisdom, your care, and the way you're both are eloquent in how you respond. And so thank you both for being part of this, and it's awesome, really awesome. And Michelle, thank you for your courage and your commitment to help so many people in the world, and the continuing growth of what you're doing. And I can very much in support of that, and just very grateful for that. And from my part, part of it is a theme that we've been sharing about, and part is bringing this aloha spirit from Hawaii that I've gleaned from learning and living here for so many years, of that balance between the feminine and the masculine. And so one thing I want to share is, folks, do not fall in love, do not rise into love for potential. Make sure it's actual. And what I mean by that is listen to the beautiful questions and the answers that came from today. And realize and be willing to have enough chutzpah to ask the questions to the people you're dating to find out, because that's much better, wouldn't you agree, to learn on the first, second, third date, or the first or 6 months about a person that maybe their values or where you're at and where they're at, for whatever reason, is not going in the same direction. Than to commit in a relationship, because you want to love them enough, and you think in time that little thing that's not right is they'll get over it, or you'll be able to love them through that. That's potential. Get real, ask direct questions, but with love and kindness, be open-hearted, and then get actual, because a lot of times once you're just willing to ask the questions, you're going to find out that maybe something you thought was a roadblock and might have been, then opens up. And the challenges between you two bring you deeper into that sweetness, into the kindness, into the trust, into a respect, into a deep connection of real love, juicy love, that's going to sustain you for years and years and years. And you'll be able to withstand whatever challenges come your way because your foundation is strong, because you dared to ask those kind of challenging questions at the beginning of your relationship. So I'm all for love constantly. There's not enough of it in our world, and it's the thing, when we really get down to it, is what we want, all of us, more than anything, men and women. So let's be honest. Just be candid, be honest, and be in our hearts. And you can't go wrong, no matter what the situation is. You can't go wrong by being in your heart. So mahalo nui loa. Thank you so much, Michelle, for this, and to the dudes, the band, ahui ho, until we meet again.
Thank you so much to all of you. It's been so much fun, and I think the ladies have really been treated to a beautiful and inspiring experience tonight. So I'm really grateful to all of you. And ladies, we are so grateful for your presence here. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, the Man Band. You guys are all awesome. Love, love, love. I'm feeling the love for you along with the ladies, and I really appreciate everyone's presence here tonight. And we'll see you for more. Bye-bye for now.
Good night.
Bye, everyone.